Lay it down.
This is exactly the type of movie you expected to see with the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And damn, Guy Ritchie and Henry Cavill deliver on their promise and then some. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is firstly a throwback to warsploitation, where men are on a do-or-die mission to stop a failed Austrian painter and his men from taking over the world.
I verräterische Jude! No, mein Führer. I'm from Arizona.
If you think about Where Eagles Dare, The Dirty Dozen, or Kelly's Heroes, and your balls swell up, this is your movie. If you think about those movies and no swelling of the groin occurs, turn in your man card now, pussy.
Go outside, nerd.
With German U-boats on the prowl in the Atlantic, cutting off British supply chains while simultaneously not allowing the United States to enter the European theater of war, Winston Churchill, played by Rory Kinnear, said enough of this shit and greenlights a Black Ops mission. M, played by Carey Elwes, is a liaison to Churchill, and his boy Ian Fleming are tasked with putting together the godfathers of the A-Team. Yeah, those names should sound familiar to you. No, not the A-Team. Well, they should sound familiar to you too.
Good afternoon, sir. May
you what, sucker?
I park your vehicle?
Are you crazy? Nobody drive my van but me. Get out of here.
See, this was based on a true story, and Ian Fleming, author of the James Bond book series, was part of the real-life mission in the movie dubbed Operation Postmaster. Many consider Henry Cavill's character, Gus March-Phillips, is who Ian Fleming based James Bond off of, and M is still M. It's obvious that this is Guy Ritchie and Henry Cavill's screen test to show they should be the A-Team that reboots the Bond franchise. And frankly, after watching Ungentlemanly Warfare, I think the duo is the best case scenario for old Babs Broccoli to consider.
Dink, say goodbye to Felix. Man talk.
M immediately needs to find the one guy in all of Britain with a beard and dastardly mustache who could pull this job off. Problem is, Gus March-Phillips is in prison and doesn't follow orders. Somehow he's the perfect man for the job. Gus is briefed on the mission at hand. A merchant vessel named the Duchess will be docking in Fernando Po, a small Spanish island off the coast of West Africa. It will be loaded up with munitions that will be delivered to the U-boats in the Atlantic. The job is to get to Fernando Po, blow up the Duchess, thus crippling the U-boats enough to allow the Americans through, before Gus is back home having beans and toast or whatever the fuck it is that Englishmen eat to celebrate. The mission is simple. The team Gus assembles is not. You have the Swede killing machine Anders, played by Ritchson, who looks like he drinks diesel fuel instead of coffee these days, and explosives expert, a sailor, and if that's not enough, they need to make a pit stop at a German garrison in order to free the man with the plan who thinks just as fast as he kills, Jeffrey. Ahead of them are two covert operatives, Marjorie and Heron, who will prepare the island for our merry band of murderous misfits' inevitable landfall. Heron is our Rick Blaine from Casablanca. He owns a small casino on the island and seemingly has a connection with everyone. I mean, the line, "This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship," is uttered as a not-so-subtle nod to the classic Bogart film. Eiza Gonzalez plays Marjorie, and her role is to seduce the sadistic officer Heinrich, who oversees the port for the dancing plus signs. When she's not busy seducing him, she's seducing the audience. Well, even when she's seducing him, she's seducing us. What I'm trying to say is Eiza Gonzalez is fucking gorgeous. But if looks could kill, Marjorie is extremely deadly due to her high proficiency in revolvers, rifles, submachine guns, and derringers holstered on her inner thigh.
It's crazy out there. Some of these girls, you should see them. Oh my God.
And well, just like every men on a do-or-die warsploitation movie, nothing ever goes as planned, and the team needs to climb extraordinary hurdles in order to accomplish their suicide mission. And to be honest with you, the entire movie drips with charisma from start to finish, whether it be Cavill's roguish performance where, as he listens to the mission briefing, he's jacking cigars, booze, and even that nerd Ian Fleming's lighter. He doesn't really seem to give a shit if anyone notices. He goes as far as to getting another man to give him his coat, a habit that continues to be a hilarious motif throughout the film. Of course, Henry Cavill oozes more charm and gravitas than the number 4 reactor in Chernobyl leaks radiation. But I'd go so far out of my way to say you haven't seen Cavill have this much fun in a role yet. In fact, the entire team, on and off camera, seem to be having a blast.
Ready? Good work, Frederick.
Thank you, Captain.
The crew and cast of characters seem to click, all understanding who exactly their characters are and playing them pitch perfect. They don't do the Hollywood thing of phoning in their roles, using them as stepping stones to get a piece of whatever next Marvel movie there is. Instead, they match the world built around them, which is interesting because overall I felt like the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was aware of itself and unaware at the same time. It knows it's a movie in the same vein as The Dirty Dozen or Kelly's Heroes, where it should never be taken seriously as a historical war drama, but it's unaware of itself where the actors and actresses all play their role with a straight face, never winking and nodding to the camera that this is all make-believe.
Now, Howard, as an actor, you'll need to summon up emotions as quick as a beam. Pain! Sorrow, ecstasy, NDMA.
I know within the last week, Alan Ritchson can't have a conversation promoting Ungentlemanly Warfare without proving that modern actors and actresses should be barred from doing so. He seemingly attempted to alienate half the world and the majority of his core audiences, not only for this film, but for his flagship show Reacher, with what he said about the police and Christians. But even if he looks like a 10-pound pussy in a 5-pound bag, it can't take away what he did with this character of Anders. Whether or not people can look past the man and see the art is another issue entirely, but I thoroughly enjoyed his bow and arrow wielding character. At one point he's fighting in the confinements of a ship, and when he has no more use for his arrows in such a situation, he picks up an axe, and all you can do is smile with glee. It suits his character so well as he starts hacking away at post-Weimar Republic Germans. Eiza Gonzalez continues her path on being a rising star. Her chameleon-like performance changes from brash and brave to vulnerable and terrified in single scenes. In one particular scene, she has the chance to pull out her best Rita Hayworth impression and captivate an entire room with a musical number. There are moments when you think Ungentlemanly Warfare was going to pull its punches for the sake of not hurting someone's feelings, as such the case when Marjorie sits with Heinrich in her first attempt to seduce him. He expresses his hatred for Jewish people, and when she explains she is Jewish, she really is in the movie, you think the movie is going to hold back, destroying any kind of credibility not only to her character but Heinrich's as well. That is until she laughs and unleashes an anti-Semitic tirade. It's at this moment you know for sure this movie is made by adults for adults. And if this scene happened to offend you,
That means you're gay.
every fight scene is choreographed and edited well. Guy Ritchie's usual hyper-stylized shots of action have been radically toned down here to fit the genre he's operating in. When guys from the Pinwheels of Friendship Army are mowed down, there are plenty of wide shots of real-time destruction. It's been said that the actual Operation Postmaster only took a half an hour to complete, so thank the movie gods by extending the timeline by 15 days so our boys can wreak ungentlemanly havoc where there's no fucks left to give. Lastly, I gotta talk about the score. There is something about pairing an exploitation movie with a spaghetti western soundtrack that has all sorts of the correct stank on it. Christopher Benstead nailed it with this soundtrack that would fool the late Ennio Morricone into thinking he wrote it himself. Heavy lifts from specifically Death Rides a Horse soundtrack are heard here in Ungentlemanly Warfare and are absolutely welcomed. In fact, I couldn't find if they bought license to Ennio Morricone's music, and it seems like they didn't, so they're probably going to get sued. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo-hoo. Inevitably, Ritchie's body of work will always be compared to Tarantino's. Parallels will be drawn between the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare being Ritchie's answer to Inglourious Bastards. And if I'm going to be honest, I prefer Ritchie's get-on-with-the-plot style with Ungentlemanly Warfare over Tarantino's insatiable appetite to hear his own words discuss strudel for over 5 minutes while staring at his lead actress's feet. I do have to say this for Inglourious Bastards, it does provide a more compelling and charismatic villain in Hans Landa than Ungentlemanly Warfare does with Heinrich. That's not to take anything away from Til Schweiger, who does a good job. He's just no Christoph Waltz.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Ultimately, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is a fun, enjoyable action flick. The kind men used to bond over with their boys and speak fondly of when mentioned in the bar. It is a much-needed W in the win column for Cavill, who couldn't seem to lead any piece of entertainment that was truly memorable in recent years. Ungentlemanly Warfare completely erases that ungodly abomination called Argyle in my book, and I very much look forward to his upcoming Warhammer 40k project in the future. That is, of course, if he could keep the ladies out of the custodies and BlackRock out of his pockets. At 2 hours, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare has a wonderful pace to it. Never once did I experience lag in the narrative. Plenty of well-shot action, got some suspense in the right areas, and humor at moments that are not forced. It's a rare feat these days that a movie sabotages my filmmaking brain and just lets me enjoy the ride. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is on a waterslide of action greatness, and at the bottom is a kiddie pool full of recent Marvel movies, not knowing that some adult throwback freak of nature is coming down at 88 miles per hour buck naked, ready to knock every single one of them out. If you enjoyed this video, you go ahead and smash that like button. While you're done doing that, hit the subscribe button. And then, after that, share this with your friends, family, people you hate. Maybe you don't like my content and just want to waste somebody's time. Do it, share it. Thank you. It is much appreciated. I'm out of here.